Hello everyone, it's Geesje. Welcome to my channel and a warm welcome back to my regular viewers. Today something different. Today I'm going to show you how I make these pouches. This pouch is made from a 10.5 inch block. You can make also a larger one. This pouch was made from a 12.5 inch block, but today I'm going to show you the 10.5 inch. And as you can see, there's no seam in the middle for turning. I'm going to show you how to do it otherwise. The supplies we need to make this smaller pouch. I used a lot of scraps to make this 10.5 inch block. To make this, you use 10 squares on the one side and 10 squares on the other side. They are all 2.5 inch square. Then the strip in the middle is 2.5 inches wide by 10.5 inches long. And when you sew with a 1/4 inch seam, you end up with a block 10.5 inches square. I like my block backed by some batting. So I have a piece of batting that's slightly larger than my block. And I'm going to sew along each line through this block, and then also this way and once all around to make it a bit sturdier. I don't know if you can see it here. You can also use a piece of upholstery fabric if you have. Then we need lining. My lining is a 1/4 inch smaller than my block. So I also pieced this from scraps to make it 10.25 inches square. And then we need a zipper. Mine is 12 inches from here to there. And then you want to sew this together with some coordinated thread. I will sew the block to the batting and then I will come back. So this is my finished block. Now because I sewed through it a few times, it shrank to 10 3/8. So I cut my lining to 10 1/8. To create these boxed corners, we are gonna cut away an area over here. So first I want to find my middle of the block and mark it. I'm using a washable marker from the kids, and I think it's about here and about here. We're going to come in from the edge 1.5 inch. Also on the other side 1.5 inch. And 1.25 inch from the center. So 1.25 here. And 1.25 from the other side, which will make this whole block 2.5. Repeat on the other side, 1.25 and 1.25 is 2.5. We're going to do the same on our lining fabric. Find the center. This will be creased. Again, 1.5 from the edge and 1.25 from the fold. Till 2.5. And repeat on the other side. And now we're going to cut this out on the lines. And do the same with the lining fabric. Now you have something like this. And now we're going to insert our zipper. To insert our zipper, we're going to open the zipper and place it upside down on our fabric. And the end, don't align the end of the zipper with the end of the fabric. You will create a gap here. So we're going to go with about 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to pin the beginning and the end. Then we're going to grab our lining fabric, making sure that the right sides are facing. I have a right and a wrong side because I pieced my lining together. Then we're going to align everything up, and you can use pins or clips or whatever you have in hand. Now because we have cut our lining smaller than our block, we're going to align up the edges and pin, and then we're going to distribute the rest in between. Okay, so I will go to the center, grab the center of everything, check if this area, if this gap is as big as this gap. Obviously there's more here than on the other side, so we'll move the lining over a little bit so that there's less over there and more over there. So adjust accordingly so that you have everything in the middle. Place a pin, and I will place another pin in the middle of this section and in the middle of this section. And don't worry, everything will line up in the end. Then we're going to install our zipper foot on our sewing machines, and we're going to sew all along the edge, backstitching both at the beginning and at the end. So the zipper is in, and we fold everything away from the zipper, and you can either iron this or finger press, because now we want to top stitch this edge. And I'm using a dark thread on the top. I will go and change my thread to a more neutral thread so that it fits better with the lining of my fabric. And I'm going to pin this so that I don't have surprises by having excess fabric caught in the seam here. I will place a pin in every block. And I will top stitch. You can either use your zipper foot, then you would have to move the zipper foot to the other side of your needle. I'm going to just use my regular sewing foot for the top stitching. So I top stitched the zipper in place. Now we're going to align the zipper, and folding the quilt block over so that it aligns with the second part of the zipper. And we're going to put some pins in here. For now, the quilt block will be sewn to the zipper with the zipper foot, and the lining will be added at the next step. So I stitched my zipper to the quilt block. Then we're going to take the other side of the lining, attach it to the block and the zipper so that the zipper is sandwiched between the quilt block and the lining. Pin in place and also pin or fasten the other end together like so. Then you see 2 marks here. We're going to sew from the beginning up until the mark. Then we're going to sew from this end to that mark. We're going to leave this open because this is the opening where we turn our pouch inside out of when we're done. Okay, let's stitch this up. Now these 2 sides have been stitched. Now we have to turn it right side out. Now we're going to top stitch because also that prevents the lining from coming up and into the zipper. Place a few pins on the edge here. And on the other side, make sure that the lining is nice and taut and out of the way. And another pin over here. I will top stitch this little part and this part. The top stitching has to be done now because once the pouch is closed, you cannot reach the beginning and the end. Alright, I'll come back when it's done. I top stitched the 2 parts. Now we're going to turn it inside out again. The next step is closing up the sides. First we're going to close the zipper halfway. Not all the way, just halfway. Then at the zipper, make sure that when you pin this in place that the zipper teeth face the quilt block. Okay, it's very important that they face the quilt block. So I will put a pin behind the teeth and a few more here and one at the end. On the other side, make sure that both your teeth of the zipper faces the quilt block and not the other way around. This way the pouch will close proper. So when you're sewing this part here, be careful that you don't hit the metal teeth. Although if we've done it correctly, they're sitting far enough down that we're not going to hit them with our sewing machine. Okay, a pin at the beginning and at the end. And then we're going to sew from here to there. Back stitch on both ends. Alright. We're all sewed up on both sides. Now we're going to make the boxed corners. Remember in the beginning when I mentioned that the measurements were going to be 1.5 this way and 1 1/4 this way? That's because we're going to have a 1/4 inch seam. Now the 1/4 inch seam has been sewn, so now the box is square. Now I like to crease the lining. That way I can see the fold. Then I can line up the stitching with the crease and pin. I'm going to put a pin here. And it does not matter which way your seam goes, and because I'm sewing from this way to that way, I'm going to fold my seam over to my right. Do the same with the other side. I don't think you can see the fold, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw a line with my marker here. Then I will line up the stitching with the marker. Again, folding the seam edges, the seam allowance to my right. Pin at the end. Pin at the beginning. So all the boxed corners are pinned, and now I'm going to sew them closed with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So the corners are sewn. Now you can choose to cut this off or not. I always leave it on. It's not in the way at all. Now here we have the opening. We're going to turn our pouch inside out. Then I will go in and push out those corners, and the other side also. And now also the zipper part. And we're going to just fiddle with the lining a little bit. Now the only thing we're going to do is fold the lining in 1/4 inch. I'm going to finger press a bit so that when we top stitch this part, we catch the lining. So I'm going to pin to make sure that the lining will be caught. This should be good. And I'm going to top stitch. So this concludes the finishing of our zippered pouch. These are very handy to put anything you want in it, and even if you have a little project you work on, you can put the project in here and then you have everything in one spot. Okay, this was it for today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you're inspired to make one yourself, and we hope to see you in the next video. Bye!